I'll tell you some personal question, because I don't speak for every member of Atheist Society. I don't believe in God, because there's not enough evidence to start believing in God. I don't need to prove 100% that God doesn't exist. This is a claim that is so extraordinary. We're going to end up talking about extraordinary claims and extraordinary evidence in the summation. So I won't go into too much detail here. But there's no evidence of God in my life. I've never experienced anything that I can acclaim to any kind of deity, Christian or otherwise. So I'm not going to give time of day to wishful thinking. I'm quite happy with my life stance. I don't need God, and that's the end of
that. All the Christians here, I presume you're atheists when it comes to Thor, when it comes to Zeus, when it comes to Poseidon, when it comes to Wotan. When it comes to read H.L. Mencken's essay on this. He draws up a list of gods that no one believes anymore. All we do is go one call further.
Thank you. Just speak up there. Don't do that. Next, did you want to? No, right. You can ask in a minute. Yes.
Okay. Yes, to the Christian Union. Just wondering how you do account for the so many, probably hundreds of stories which date from before Christian times, about virgin births, deaths, resurrections, and how that seems such a coincidence that happened to Jesus in the story given by the Bible.
Personally, there have been many claims that you can, say whether or not there was somebody whether there was a virgin birth. But the fact that I don't know about them. I don't know if anybody else in this room could attest to them. Whenever somebody starts something. When somebody starts a rumour, if there's no truth in it, it's going to fall to the ground. But this is something which has persisted for thousands of years. I could start something today. Right, and it should die out by the time I'm dead, because it'll fall to the ground. People can test it. People will come, like yourself, debate, and that was a time in the society of debate for which they'll have brought loads of people who have brought very valid arguments to test whether what I'd said was true. And the fact that something persists for such a long time can be evidence of how true it is.
You can't either. Can I have another question? Thank you.
This is a question of the Christian Union. In response to the question from around there about why Jesus was crucified, what sort of God would do that? You said he did it for the sins of humanity, and then you went on to say that every day we sin. But I want to ask her, who are you to say what God wants? And what God, how can you define God if you're with Christians? So how can you define a God, basically? Swayze Bay. It did have a succinct point earlier on. Who are you to define what God wants? Put it at that.
Are you asking me then?
Yeah, because you said it.
Sure.
Okay.
The only way we can know, right, first of all, I'll define the whole idea of what God is, right? God is him for whom there is nothing and no one greater. Okay, that's the whole idea of what God, or who God would be. And if God is so much greater than I am, for example, then I can't figure out what God says. The only way I can know it... Let me just finish what I'm saying. The only way I can know is by him revealing himself. And the only way I can know what God wanted is revealing himself to us. His revelation personified was Jesus. He was the person who came and perfectly displayed what God wanted. That's how we can know what God wanted. And God evidenced the fact that he'd sent his son through the miracles that he did. And most importantly, about what we're talking about tonight, through his death and then his resurrection, to show his absolute dominion over everything that is made.
Okay, we've got time for one very quick last question. Lady, hand up first.
For the Christian Society, Atheist Society doesn't believe in Jesus Christ or in the resurrection and all of that. And true, there isn't very much evidence of what this whole thing is about. What's the point of it? So can you tell me? You probably can't speak for anybody else, but can you speak for yourself? What's the point of this resurrection thing in your life? Why would you get up? You seem to be a scientist of some sort. Why would you get up and start talking this according to them?
Can you have a very quick response, please?
Okay, for my scientist. Because I'm the scientist. Okay. Well, as a scientist, I know that science does not give answers to absolutely everything. I know science is limited and doesn't. It doesn't matter how much you can study. You can study more than me if you want, but there is. But there is no. It doesn't give you the full answer of everything. Now, I could study all the archaeology there is. I could study all the all the history there is and try and find out whether God was there. But then, if at the end of it I realised, oh, there is a God, and I've wasted my whole life coming to a conclusion which I can come to right now, I know from evidence in my own life that I'm only here because of what God has done. Things like miracles, I've seen them only after I believed that there was a God. I knew that I would not have been able to see those things happen had it not been for these things you dispute, called miracles. There are people who did not want to believe that miracles existed, and we tested it out. I said, we did simple things, and I said, okay, right, we'll pray over this. And the next day, their hand worked, okay. Their hand wasn't working the day before. Doctors had said, we don't know why it's not working. Their hand worked the next day. A lady who had cancer, there was cancer. People saw it, okay. They had scans, they looked at it, and then the next day it was gone because we prayed. So I've seen evidence of God afterwards, and I know evidence of my life changing, and the lives of many other people, millions whose lives have changed because of belief in God, and knowing how I cannot satisfy the guilt that happens when I do wrong things, and it can only be done through a knowledge and a relationship with Jesus. And that relationship is there for you to have, should you decide to actually look for it objectively.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for having me all the time here.
Sorry, just one last question. I personally am agnostic, so I'm not sure either way. And I just wanted to know how you can be atheist and not agnostic. How are you absolutely sure there is no God?
Okay.
Okay, I'll be very, very quick. Very quick. I'm technically agnostic, as everyone in this room should be, because you cannot conclusively just prove anything metaphysical. So you're completely right. But the fact that, as Laplace said, the universe works without the hypothesis that there is a God intervening in it, I think to me licenses the belief that perhaps there is no God. At no point do I say that I am absolutely certain. One thing I am certain of is that Jesus was not resurrected, because that is fairy tale. But the other point, you are technically right about agnosticism. We can't prove either way, but
Okay,
if we are to grant that, it's a point in our favour and not in theirs.
To invite Bex to summate for the opposition. We've got 2 minutes to say final word.
Okay, right, 2 minutes.
2 minutes, so everyone.
Okay, thank you all for coming here tonight. I hope from just listening to all the arguments that we've had that it's, there are actually many writers who've written outside of just Christians for which you can look up for yourselves, and they testify to the fact that Jesus did die, and we can look at the evidence that there is no tomb with bones in it. The fact that when his body went missing, the authorities who were against him were not able to produce it. They could not explain why his body had gone, and that there were many people who'd seen him afterwards. The whole point is looking at the kind of death that he faced, which was really not the best death that anybody could go through, was so painful, should make you think why somebody would go through such an excruciating thing. The reason for it, I can tell you today, is because of love. This was something which God was trying to show to everybody, to kind of show you how much he loves you. Even if you don't believe in that being true, I'd urge you to just go and investigate it for yourself, objectively. Keep an open mind. And if at least when you've looked at all the evidence and proved that it's wrong for yourself, then that's fine. But I think the worst thing that could happen is missing out on something that's free, that you can look at objectively, when you actually look at it with an open mind. So I'd urge you to just go and investigate that for yourself, and you will be surprised at kind of the fact that you will find more truth than you expect right now as you come out of this room.
I'll just another quick round of applause. It's been a while since I've been to a comedy club in a while, and actually I've given quite a laugh, so thanks for that.
No need to be rude.
So we've had the